Hi guys, Geoffrey here. In this video, I want to show you a few things that I've noticed are broken about the coaching industry, especially the marriage coaching industry. And the reason why I'm making this video is that a lot of my clients, before coming into the program, usually have explored other programs, therapy, etc. But while the situation was actually very salvageable and very correctable, they often end up going in the wrong direction. And for these 4 reasons I'm about to tell you here. I'm not saying this to try to sell my program or anything like that. I just want you to understand how to think through the advice that you're getting and the decision you're making when it comes to getting help so that you can get the right help, the best help possible. And it doesn't matter to me if you are using other sources of help, but I want to make sure that you are guided the correct ways as well. And in case you're new to the channel, my name is Geoffrey and I help men in long-term relationships or in marriages with the right skills and knowledge to be able to design a thriving relationship by yourself. So if you want more content on this topic, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also click the bell button as well to be notified when I post new videos every single week. And before I begin this video, I also want to let you know that the masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up is still open. So if you want to join me in that masterclass, or if you want to submit your application for the program as well, be sure to stick around to the very end of this video for an announcement on how you can join both those things. So I think the first problem with the coaching industry is that a lot of people focus on the what to do and not really the how to do it. So for example, if you look at a lot of the coaching programs or if you look at a lot of the videos that people post, they tell you the what to do. They tell you, for example, either no contact or contact. They tell you, do you divorce, do you separate or not? Do you say this thing or not? Do you set boundaries or not? Do you reach out to her or not? Here's what to do during a date. Here's what you should talk about. And I think as viewers too, we often promote and encourage this kind of culture where people focus on what, because of the questions we ask too. We ask questions like, should I do X, Y, Z, or should I do A, B, C? But what we have to understand here is that it's not really about the what you do that matters often. It's how you do it that matters most. So we have to understand that if we understand the right process or the right how behind how to do something, we can thrive under any circumstance, under any scenarios, under any problems, etc. But if we do not have the right how, then we'll struggle under any circumstance, under any what, basically. And we see this a lot, for example, in careers. You see people who jump from job to job to job to job, each time thinking that the problem is that they don't have the right structure for the job. They don't have the right job. But what really is happening usually is that they don't have the right process to thrive under any job, because you do have some people who, whatever businesses they partake in, whatever job they partake in, whatever career they partake in, they can thrive through it because they understand the right process, the right how. And same thing for even conversations here. Some people find themselves like no matter what they try, they're not really breaking through to their partner. They're not really having their partner respond well to that because, again, they don't have the right how. If you communicate something with the right set of words, with the perfect set of words, but you don't have the right microtones, the right micro expressions behind it, the right tonality, the right attitude, the right genuineness behind it, then it doesn't matter if your words are perfect. The what is perfect. If the how is wrong, it's not going to come across very right. But if you say these exact same words with the right micros, with the right expressions, with the right tone, with the right genuineness, then that changes the whole presentation, the whole positioning of what you say. And sometimes, I get people who ask the question, for example, hey Jeff, I've done something that you told me to do, but it didn't work. Well, my next question to you is like, did you get the how right? And again, this is another example of how, even as viewers, we tend to just focus on the what, but we don't really think about the how. We don't really think that, not only is the what important, but the how is even more important. We need to learn the how, and that's something that's very difficult to teach from just a YouTube video, for example. That's why in our program, a lot of our clients spend so many hours just honing the how, because the details in the how is where it all matters. And I think a lot of coaches who makes videos, who makes programs, etc., they tend to focus on the what because the what is easier. Not only is it easier to express, but it's also easier to understand. It's a very black and white thing. You just need to do this and you can reconcile. And I think as viewers, we often look for the what as well because it's easier to understand for us as well. You mean if I just give her space, if I just do no contact, if I just set boundaries, I can fix my relationship? But it's always not that simple because, again, the how matters more than the what. But getting to that how, the correct how, is actually very difficult. So in my program, for example, a lot of my clients, they spend about 3 to 6 months mastering this program. And you can see here, the program is extremely rich. Now, 90% of the time they spend is focused on learning the how, not the what. The what to do is actually easy. The what to do to untether, for example. The what to do for building your bulletproof vest. The what to do for having the right kinds of conversation and how to dance in it is the easy part. But the how is the hard part, which is why we also spend a lot of time coaching our clients on a very personal basis to teach them the how. So you can see here, we have mountains of coaching calls of people trying to hone the how. And that's really the hard part. And again, a lot of coaches don't do this because it takes a lot of not only man hours, a lot of resources to be able to teach people the how, a lot of know-how to teach people the how. And this complexity is not something that's popular. Right? If I told you, for example, that to save your relationship, you have to understand all these small complexities of what words you choose, what you say, the tones, the microtones that you can't really control often, and how you say it, how you present it. All these nuances. A lot of people would be very turned off by your message, which is why I think a lot of my videos don't get the most views, because I want to get to the how, not just the what as well. But the how is such a crucial part of mastering this whole process. So the first question I want you to ask when you're about to take in some advice or sign up for some coaching program or therapist or whatever it is that, are they going to teach me the how and not just the what? Now, I'm not saying here also that the what isn't important. The what is very crucial, but we have to understand again that the what is necessary but not sufficient. We have to eventually get to the how as well. Now, the second problem is that a lot of coaching advice out there, a lot of relationship advice out there, are what we call hypothetic and not really antithetic. So if you look at a lot of the videos that are published by other coaches, they tend to not be so controversial. And they tend to say the same things that mimics or fits what has been widely accepted at the time. For example, they would say things like, oh, stonewalling is bad, gaslighting is bad, we know that. We know that, oh, if you want to fix your relationship, fix your communication, set boundaries, all these run-of-the-mill things that people usually talk about. So for example here, when I make a video, for example, about stonewalling and how stonewalling is really not usually a character problem, but an environmental problem that is not always a sign of abuse, for example. Or when I say, for example, that setting boundaries may not always be a good thing. Or when I say that your communication is not really the problem, but the problem is really the safety behind that communication is broken. I get a lot of critics on that, and I get a lot of people telling me that I'm wrong, etc. But what I want you to think about too is, what you know today can only get you to where you are today. If you want to go someplace different, you have to explore a different set of ideas and different paradigms, different thought processes, etc., to get to a different place. And also that you cannot solve your problem with the same thinking that created the problems in the first place. So I think usually too, as viewers, we tend to fall prey to this because, again, we want to hear things that sound comfortable to us, that we are familiar with. And so when we look at people who are telling you the antithesis or an idea that goes against what you know, we tend to be very critical of it, very judgmental of it. But again, we have to realize here that there's a reason why, despite all these widely accepted ideas about relationships, why are so many people still struggling? And why are you still struggling, despite knowing what you think is right and what you think is wrong? So I always tell my clients, for example, if you join a program, if you watch a video, and you don't feel like it challenges you, you agree with everything that is said, you have no questions about it, it fits all your viewpoints right now. If that happens, then you just got scammed. Because by definition, the role of a coaching program is to teach you something you don't know, to teach you something that often goes against what you know. Because for you to get someplace different, you have to consider knowledge that is different from what you know. And maybe knowledge that you disagree with often. And so this is the first thing that a lot of my clients learn, which is that first they need to humble themselves and realize that what they know today, you cannot use that to solve your problems. And you cannot rely on what you know today to get to where you want to go. That to do this, you need to humble yourself and realize that I'm not getting the results that I want. And if I want to start getting the results that I want, I have to consider something different. And from there, from that humility, go deeply into learning the principles. And so this is why we spend a lot of the time in our program teaching people these principles and going deep into the principles of untethering, of bulletproof vest, of learning the principles of how to communicate properly, etc. Because what I want you to do is to be able to use these principles to understand what is good advice versus not. What is the advice that actually gets me to where I want to go? And not the advice that makes me feel good, right? It's results over feelings here. And there's actually a very good reason why a lot of coaches don't dare or don't have the courage to do this or don't do this at all. Because again, telling people that goes against their current viewpoints in life, against what makes them comfortable, does run you the risk of having more criticisms, of having more people reject your ideas, of people judging your ideas, of people being uncomfortable in general. And this actually brings up a very big systemic problem with the service industry today, I think. So if you look at, for example, the reason why the opioid crisis started in general. So this is the crisis because a lot of hospitals were very incentivized to give people too many painkillers. So the reason why behind this is that a lot of hospitals have been privatized in the US. And these hospitals, these private hospitals, are being rated by how comfortable and how pain-free the patient's experiences were while they were in the hospital. And so the hospitals have two choices. They have a painkiller here, which they know at that point in time did not give people a lot of good in the long term, right? Overprescribing painkillers did not do people good in the long term. But again, their hospitals were rated by how comfortable the experience was in the hospital. So if they have a patient who's complaining about, oh, I'm in so much pain, they will tend to overprescribe pain medications because they want that good rating at the end of the day. But imagine if the hospital were to say, okay, you're in pain right now, this painkillers, I'm only give you this much. It's not going to remove all your pain, but it's going to be better for you in the long term because you're not going to be addicted to these painkillers. If they do that, if they actually give people what they need instead of what they want, then they run the risk of having a lot of bad reviews. So understand here that a lot of coaches in the service industry, they're really rated and reviewed by how pain-free and how comfortable their experience was in the program. But comfort is always not in the same wavelength as growth. In order for you to grow, you often need to go through some uncomfortable moments, hear what you need to hear, rather than go through what you want to go through and hear what you want to hear. And so, which is why, if you watch a lot of my client stories, a lot of my clients will tell you that I do have very tough love. And I do hold people to a very high standard. I say things that are uncomfortable, that challenges you, that challenges what you know. And I ask you to do things that you haven't never done before. The whole experience of my coaching program is very uncomfortable, but we do get a lot of results. So while we do run the higher risk of getting some bad reviews, some criticisms here and there, we do get people results. And I think you can see that from the number of success stories that we have, despite people being in very dire situations. So the second question I want you to ask, for whatever resource you're going to listen to, is, are they telling me what I already know? Are they telling me what I agree with? Are they telling me things that make me comfortable, that I want to hear, that makes me feel good? Or are they telling me what I need to hear? What may be very uncomfortable, what may be very challenging for me to hear, but gets me to where I need to go. Think about that very deeply. And the third big pitfall, I think, with a lot of coaching programs today is that they're very deconstructive and not constructive. Right? So if you look at a lot of videos, for example, it usually falls into two ways that they're deconstructive. Either these are videos that are very diagnosis-based. They will tell you what's everything that's wrong in your relationship, that your partner is a narcissist. These videos like everything wrong with your relationship, or 6 signs your partner is a narcissist, 10 signs your marriage is over. And the second type is what we call the criticism type of videos, where they criticize certain solutions, but they don't really propose a different solution. They don't really propose, okay, so if you don't like this solution, then what is your next best solution? Because again, I think as a creator of content, making a video diagnosing something and making a video deconstructing and criticizing something is very easy. Anyone can do that, right? It's so easy, for example, to criticize a movie, criticize a comedy show, criticize a paper, criticize a YouTube video. But have you actually tried creating your own movie, creating your own YouTube video, creating your own book? It's really hard. Because when you create something, you have to think about all the different ways that people can misunderstand what you teach and what you created. All the stuff that you miss that people are extrapolating and thinking in all the wrong ways, there's so many ways to do that. So we have to be careful here. When we look at a video, when we look at a resource or a coach and their philosophies, you have to ask yourself, are they just diagnosing? Or do they actually have some useful and good treatments to follow up the diagnosis? Again, it's very easy to fall into this trap because you watch a video about some doctor diagnosing something and telling you, hey, these are 6 signs your partner is a narcissist. And they can seem very intelligent, they can seem very smart, they can woo you with some language here and there to tell you, hey, this is why I'm smart and you should listen to me. But if you really think about it, are they proposing any good solutions to this that I can use, that I can do? If the answer is no, don't listen to that. And diagnosing is not a bad thing in and of itself. But again, just like the what and the how, getting your diagnosis is necessary, but not sufficient. You need to also look for a treatment. What do I do next? So never be satisfied until you have a very clear idea what that treatment looks like and what it should be. Now, the final problem that I've seen with a lot of other coaching programs, etc., is that they promote external reliance, but they don't promote internal reliance. In a lot of my videos and a lot of my client stories, I tell people, hey, the goal here is for you to learn to become your own doctor, to be able to diagnose things yourself using the principles and to be able to understand what to do after knowing the principles as well. And I get a lot of criticisms from this, especially from therapists, for example, saying that it's impossible for people to be able to become their own doctors, to diagnose themselves, to treat themselves. A lot of people are hell-bent on this idea that, during times of crisis like this, when you are on the brink of a divorce, you need to have some arbiter somewhere. But if you really try to think deeper about this notion, it doesn't really make sense, because the question you need to ask yourself is, what choice do you have? So first things first, in your relationship, you're going to be faced with potentially infinite variations of how a conversation could go, etc. And you need to know how to respond in that time. You can't, for example, when your partner is asking you a question or you're having a really serious discussion, you can't just often go, okay, let me table this to when we talk about this with the therapist. Or you can't just call up your coach and go like, coach, help me learn what to do here. You can't do that. You need to know how to dance in that moment in that right time. And even if, let's say, you table the conversation to talk about it with your therapist later on together in a couples counseling session, what a lot of people don't realize, and I've addressed this in a lot of my videos about therapy and so on, is that, let's say we talk about creating safety. If you have to wait till the arbiter is there before you can talk about something, then sure, you guys can talk about things and resolve things during that conversation. But the safety will not be created with you, but with you and the arbiter. And a lot of people notice this when they go to a couples counseling, for example. Their partner will be very open and conversation will be very good during the session. But once they go home from the session, everything breaks down again. They shut down again. Because again, the safety is not being created with you, because you're not the source. You're not the one acting here. And thirdly, think about also the implications this says about people's potential. We're basically saying here that people do not have the potential, or people are not smart enough or capable enough to become their own doctors, to understand the principles enough to be able to diagnose and treat their own situation. But this is obviously not true, because we see it every single day in our program. And if you look at any of my client stories, you'll see that people are becoming their own doctors all the time. In fact, a lot of people let go of the therapist they're seeing. And if you want proof of this, again, go to my client stories and they'll talk deeply about this. They become very vulnerable about this as well. So at the end of the day, you need to actually learn the skill to become your own doctors, because you need to understand how to steer your car and understand the nuances of how you navigate situations without always asking externally for help on what to do. Now, I'm not saying again that you need to do this from the get-go, that you need to fire your therapist right now and just say that you have everything you need to diagnose and treat your own situation right now. This is, again, a skill that a lot of my clients take 3, 6, 9, 12 months sometimes to really master and learn. But understand that this is possible. That while in the short term right now you might need some arbitration, great, that's fine. But eventually you need to outgrow that. If you ever want the hope of ever reconciling or fixing your relationship, you need to outgrow that eventually. And this is why a lot of members just know what to do at all times. They tell you that they can steer the ship at all times as well. And you can hear this in a lot of the ways that people are talking about the program as well. And the reason I think a lot of coaches don't do this is that often coaching programs are not structurally created to incentivize them to make people self-sustainable. If you pay a therapist by the hour, for example, the faster they make you self-sustainable, the less they get. I'm sorry to say, but that is a structural problem. And this is not to say that therapists are doing this for the wrong reason, but I think it's hard to deny that structurally it doesn't really incentivize people to teach you how to become self-reliant. And number two is that this is really, really hard to do. In order for a course creator to do this, and the only way we found to do this was to make our program really hundreds of hours of content. And only hundreds of hours of content, we also ask people to learn beyond the program too, to learn not only the what that we teach in the program, but also learn the how as well, which takes up a lot of work. So not only is this hard work on the course creator side of things, the curriculum creator side of things, but it's also hard for the clients as well. And it requires the coach to be able to give people a lot of tough love, a lot of uncomfortable truths to really get them to the higher level, to suggest that they can do this and they should do this, and this the only way to do this is if you become your own doctor. And this is also why we are very selective with the people that we enroll in the program, because the truth is that not a lot of people, not everybody, are willing to do this work. They want things to be easy. They want things to be handed to them. They want a done-for-you service, not a service that teaches you how to do it themselves, how to be self-reliant. So the last question I want you to ask is, does this resource teach me how to be self-reliant, internally reliant? Does it courageously take on the challenge of allowing you to become your own doctors? Or does it teach you, encourage you to be externally reliant? And so those are the 4 key questions, guys, that I want you to ask before you listen to some advice, or before you agree to work with a coach or work with someone in your field, especially in the marriage space as well. And again, I'm not saying this to try to sell you my program. Feel free to use this knowledge to how you view critically my videos, for example, how you view other people's videos. So you can use this even when you don't buy anything. But use this also if you're considering buying some other programs besides mine. I don't really care. I just want to make sure, again, that you are getting the best help that you can. Because I've seen way too many people make the wrong decisions, get the wrong advice, and they ruin something that had so much potential. And that's the biggest shame, I think. So if you want to learn how a lot of my clients have taken their situation from a very dire state, a very hopeless state, to where they are today, to a thriving state, then you can join me in my free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up. In that masterclass, I'll show you the exact steps all my clients have used to really thrive in their relationship, no matter what their starting point is. So if you want to join me in that masterclass, if you want to submit your application for the program, then you can click the link above my head, also down below this video, to join the masterclass first. At the end of the masterclass, I'll show you how to apply for the program as well, so you can do that there. And if you want a free guide on how you can guide conversations better, now I understand that this is the what again. You need to understand the how behind this guide that I'm giving you here. But if you want to know the what, you can click the link above my head, also down below this video. And if you found this video valuable, guys, give this video a like. It really helps the channel out and spread this to more people. And also subscribe to this channel for more content like this one as well. And if you have any questions or comments about this video, then leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you as well. For now, I'll leave you with 2 other videos with more knowledge and skills to design a thriving relationship on your own. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.